Hello, welcome back to my Pokemon Omicron 90% full game speedrun commentary series. This is part 5. We're going to be covering the remainder of the Sigil Halls. So the next two splits we see here, Wilson 2 and Zeus 3. So let's get started. So you've just beaten Morgan, the third Sigil Hall leader. And we then have to make our way over to Mount Nova. First, a few trainers to fight here, though. So this fight's pretty standard, nothing of note to point out here. So the next fight coming up is a pretty bad fight. He leads a Staraptor, which is a fairly strong bird type or flying type Pokemon, which has Brave Bird. And we need to set up on this fight. Now if we set up on the Staraptor, there's a very high chance he just kills us outright with Brave Bird. Further to that, and he also has Intimidate, so that's pretty bad. Further to that, in the next gym, we're going to need to have all our slaves to faint it for one of the fights. So what we do here is we set up a slave to the top. We put Noibat out first. He tanks the Intimidate. And we're really hoping that Staraptor uses Close Combat here, because Close Combat drops the defense of the Staraptor. And so when we come back in with Hawlucha, we don't take any, there's this Close Combat there, we don't take any attack drops from the Intimidate, and the defense of the Staraptor is also dropped. So we're able to one-hit with Rock Slide without setting up. So as you saw, two of our slaves fainted there, and we then set up on this Farfetch'd. Quickly check how many Brick Breaks I have left. If I have 4 left, I use Brick Break on Pharaoh. I'm going to be using Aether later, but if I only had 3, I would use Rock Slide, which takes a little longer, but... We're going to do another short little trainer gauntlet. This Quagsire can live after setting up a Swords Dance. It can survive a Brick Break. Time he died, which is really good. With the Rain Dance up, it can be quite a problem if he uses something water type. So we'll need to use a Max Ether after this fight on Brick Break. So yeah, the vast majority of the Sigil Halls, most of the last half of that last split, in fact most of the last split, as well as both of these splits, it's essentially just we need to get through these trainers as quickly as possible. They're going to start getting closer and closer to our level, so the fights are going to get a little more challenging. But this part of the run can be kind of less motivating, I guess, because you're not really gaining levels. You're just going through the motions here, fighting a bunch of trainers and hoping to get through this as quickly as possible. We set up 2 Swords Dances on the Marowak because this guy has a Swampert. Now what I probably should have done was set up only 1 Swords Dance on the Marowak and use the second one on the Swampert, because Swampert, we're going to see another Swampert actually later, but Swampert likes to use Protect, and that just wastes a Brick Break if he uses it. And Steelix almost always has Sturdy anyway, so it wouldn't make a difference to only set up the 1 time. It's actually quite annoying that it used Sandstorm there, because that means we're going to take even more damage and time loss. So there's the Protect, so a little bit slow. So I didn't route that Swords Dance in on that Swampert for this Swampert, but there's the later Swampert I did have it in my notes. I can't remember exactly why. I guess the first time I put my notes together, it didn't use Protect, but it almost always does. Just dodging a few trainers here. Took a little bit of a long way around there, which is kind of slow, but no big deal. That was also potentially slower. Heal up to full here, then this next trainer can do quite a bit of damage. This trainer always gives me a little laugh when I'm playing, because he's telling his birdies to talking about his bird Pokemon, and only one of his 5 Pokemon is a bird. This first one is clearly not a bird. As you can see, that Air Slash did a ton of damage. Second Pokemon, Flying Pikachu, not a bird. There's the one bird. Cotton Ball, not a bird. And a bug, also not a bird. So a lot of these fights we have to heal the full before, just because very often we're going to be setting up a Swords Dance. In fact, almost every single fight from here on out, we're going to be setting up a Swords Dance first, so we want to be able to survive. This next trainer can be a little scary. He leads a Kling Clang, which does no Zap Cannon, and although Zap Cannon has a chance to miss, if it does hit, it makes the fight a little bit scary. So really hoping for a Zap Cannon miss or something else. We got Hyper Beam, which is actually really good. We ideally want to set up 2 Swords Dances, and that Hyper Beam just gives us a free turn to do that. We want to try to reduce the number of Brick Breaks we have. Brick Break is just the move we use the most. And Because that second Swords Dance went up, this Rotom, well, first we wouldn't use Brick Break on the Rotom, but the Rotom will die to Rock Slide for sure, and this Flygon we can use Wing Attack. We'd otherwise need to use Brick Break on Flygon, and we would need to finish Rotom with Wing Attack likely, and Rotom also has super effective moves. This girl leads a Poliwrath, which can know Dynamic Punch, so another pretty powerful move which can cause confusion. Luckily it missed, so that's good. And it's a pretty easy sweep after that. It is possible to Wing Attack the Lucario, but it's not a guaranteed kill, so I elected to use Brick Break there. I also, because I saved the Brick Break earlier on the Flygon, that ensures I have enough PP to carry on. This fight, we have to set up 2 Swords Dances because the last poke needs 2 hits to kill. If we don't set up twice, that Detect is a little annoying. It would have been nice to see that while setting up, but nothing you can really do there. Let's go Fagrigus. I'm not sure if it lived here, actually. There's a chance for him to live, yes. He used Shadow Ball. Which killed, which is kind of annoying. So in theory, this is a good thing, because now we can kill off one of our slaves to revive. So we need to have all our slaves dead, as I mentioned, for a fight coming up in the next Sigil Hall. If all your slaves are not dead, you then deposit the ones that aren't. And obviously the more of them that are dead, the quicker that deposit is. I think I messed that up completely, and I ended up just depositing everything. Because I forgot which ones had fainted. But we'll see. That might have just been a practice run. A little bit of a ledge maze to contend with here. Nothing too scared. Nothing too difficult to deal with. So coming up, we're gonna have our final fight with Athena, the Team Olympus admin. This fight can be pretty bad. She leads a Noctowl, which knows Hurricane. Hurricane's a very powerful flying type move, which can also confuse. So if we get confused, we have to heal. And obviously, if she crits, that does a fair bit of damage as well. So I think Hurricane is 70% accurate. Luckily, no confuse, so we're good to go. We do need to heal because we're going to be facing a Lucario later, which knows Extreme Speed, and I can kill him. I choose to heal here. As you can see, I'm out of Hyper Potions, so I try to use Hyper Potions as much as possible. Save the full restores for later, because the full restores are very useful for the last Sigil Hall. So I use Wing Attack on this Lucario. Generally, this I've had more luck killing this Lucario with Wing Attack than the other one, but I should really be using Brick Break here, obviously. This is a really random bit of storyline with this Heatran. That Heatran never shows up later. It gets caught by some random mysterious trainer, but we never see that ever again. So it's a very bizarre piece of storyline. Here we're going to heal to full. For the next few fights, we're going to be checking our PP very carefully because we are going to need to use a few Ethers. So we're going to have to use Ethers on Brick Break, Wing Attack, and Rock Slide at some point. Here we're going to need to set up a Swords Dance. I choose to set up on the second Pokemon, which is a Tauros. That Glalie can do a fair bit of damage, so a little bit safer to do the Tauros. Luckily no Intimidate from Tauros either. Because we didn't get Intimidate, we can Wing Attack this Sawtooth. If we didn't get Intimidate, or if we did get Intimidate, we would have to use Rock Slide. So normally I'd be using that Ether on Wing Attack a little bit later, but because I used a few extra Wing Attacks, especially on the Morgan fight, I have to use it a little early. It's actually not a huge deal. I won't ever run out of Wing Attacks. This Raticate can also be quite annoying. I think it knows Double Edge. This is the fight I was talking about where we're going to set up once here. We're also going to set up the second Swords Dance on the Swampert later because of Protect. Everything else dies after one, but it's just the Swampert that needs a second. You could just two-hit the Swampert with an attacking move, but again, just Protect pops up, especially since he uses Protect. That would take 3 turns to take him out. So we got one more trainer left on this mountain area here. This fight can be a little tough. We're gonna heal the full. This Giraffe Rig, pretty sure it uses Zen Headbutt here. I think it also knows Psychic, so obviously that can do a fair amount of damage. Don't really want to set up a second time. Well, I could have, but Salamence can have Intimidate. This may mean that he may not die to this Rock Slide, but I think in this case it does. So that's pretty good. Oh no, never mind. But he killed himself with Double Edge, so that's pretty good. So he did die in one turn. Just not the way I expected it to. This Gliscor requires a few hits with Wing Attack to kill. Because I'm going to have to use a Ether on Rock Slide, I think I elect to use Rock Slide to start. Just burn that Rock Slide, and then we go Wing Attack from there. He does take 3 turns, and I got the critical second turn, so that was really fast. He typically uses Swords Dance or tries Guillotine. And so doesn't usually deal damage, so healing to full was actually necessary. We're going to need to heal to full before the next fight anyway. So for the next fight, I'm going to need to use 3 Brick Breaks, and I only have 2, so I'm going to have to use an Ether before that. And I think I'm out of Rock Slides as well, so I have to use an Ether on Rock Slide as well. So when I arrive here, somehow my Pokemon ends up behind me again. Don't know why that happens. I then should be depositing 2 slaves. I should be depositing Horsey and I can't remember the other one. Bellsprout. So I kind of made a mistake here. I was supposed to deposit the Pokes that had not fainted, and Horsey actually had fainted, so I ended up depositing all of them by accident. That was a little bit sloppy. So now we're on our last Sigil Hall, which is Wilson's Sigil Hall. So Wilson, as you know, is a dragon trainer. I reset this because I forgot to use the Ethers, I believe. So this guy leads a Mawile. This guy's not a dragon type. We're really hoping he doesn't have Intimidate. That may make something not die later in this fight. We do have to set up twice with Swords Dance in this guy, though. Play Rough Miss is really good. Play Rough can lower attack. So the main reason why we set twice is because of the... Oh, it's not the Altaria, actually. It's the one going after. Is this Druddigan here. So the next trainer is a little tough. So this trainer is the reason why we deposit all our slaves. So he leads a Druddigan. Druddigan knows the move Dragon Tail, which deals damage and forces you to switch. Obviously, if I only have one Pokemon in my party, I can't switch, so it just does damage. I also set up an X Defend because this guy is quite powerful. Druddigan has very high attack. If it uses Outrage, it does quite a lot of damage. Probably close to half my health if I don't set up an X Defend. Luckily I got Rock Climb turn 1, and then Outrage turn 2. So I probably shouldn't die here. But because, actually because Dredigan has, can have the ability Rough Skin. Actually, yeah, and I forgot about that, so I ended up dying. I had to reset this fight. I should have probably healed at that point. So yeah, Sigil Halls went really well for the first two, and then the last two, the splits were pretty bad. Yeah, just some new strategies that I've never really tried before. Critical Rock Climb is awful. Heal to full because Outrage can kill. There's Dragon Tail, which would normally force me to switch to one of my slaves, but doesn't there, obviously. He also has Superpower, which is the ideal move because it does as little damage as possible. But it is a bit slow in terms of text. So now we've got both our Swords Dances up, and then we can just sweep this fight. So the next fight is a rematch with our little half-brother, Stuart. Very similar fight to our first matchup with him. We just set up a Swords Dance and then sweep the entire fight with Brick Break. Except for the Togekiss, we use Rock Slide. So we only have 4 fights left in the Sigil Halls after this. They're all very difficult. So the first one is obviously Wilson. Wilson's Pokemon are very interesting. They are experimental variations of Pokemon that exist in the game. So they're going to have really weird names and different types than what they normally have. They're also obviously very powerful, but they're all based off of Dragon-type Pokemon. So, yeah. So it's a pretty challenging fight. I'll explain a little bit later. Well, anyway, actually we can start now. So his lead is a type of, or a Pokemon similar to Flygon. It's got the similar sprite to Flygon, except it's a Fire type. There's a Protect from Licky Licky, not very good. Anyway, so Rise Flygon, which is the Pokemon we face first, has he's part Fire. He's got Drought, which increases the power of Fire type moves. He has 2 Fire type moves. He's got Fire Blast and Solar Charge. Fire Blast is a special attack. Solar Charge is a physical attack. We really only can set up to prepare for only one of those moves. We don't have the time to set up both because he could just kill us with the other, and he's not guaranteed to use one or the other. It's very, very random, but he is more likely to use Solar Charge. So we set up an X Defend here. We're going to need an X Defend for this fight. We also will need to get up an X Speed at some point. But we can't set it up on him because he does quite a lot of damage, and we also have to set up a Swords Dance on him. So we're going to set up a X Defend, obviously, to start. There's Drought. Actually, here I elect to Swords Dance first. So normally I would set up an X Defend. I think I saved the X Defend for later. So yeah, rather than deal with any possible chance of him critting or using a move that's not Solar Charge, I elect to kill him there. But normally I would set up an X Defend first. Next up is Machaments, which is essentially Salamence. I believe he's also Dragon Flying, so he goes down to Rock Slide in 1 hit. Next is Hydra God. I believe it too is part dark because it dies to Brick Break. And on Mega Sparse, this is where I choose to set up the X speed, and also we'll be setting up an X defend as well. So it typically uses either Devour or Dragon Claw, and as you can see, they both do very little damage, so it's pretty safe to set up here. So now we're all set up, and we're faster than everything in this fight. However, one of the Pokemon coming up has Bullet Punch as a move, which is a priority move, so we have to heal the full before we take out Mega Sparse. Next we get Cyber Goomy, which I believe is part Steel. So Goomy is normally Dragon. I think he's normal Dragon. Definitely Goodra is normal Dragon, I remember. And I believe Warhaxorus is Steel Dragon as well. So normally he's just pure Dragon. So despite quite a few errors in that split, we're pretty close to our best split ever for that split. So that's 4 Sigil Halls down. We have to go find the mysterious 5th Sigil Hall. But first we have to pick up a very key HM move, which we're going to need to get into that last Sigil Hall. Luckily, that place is right in town here, in Constant City. The Time Lock Temple is where we're headed. Now we're in the past, so we kind of have to go back and forth between the past and the present to navigate this mansion, if you will. And here's HMXX, which is Tesseract. So that's the this is the reason why we catch the Unknown. Not only because he is great for double battles, because he doesn't learn any moves leveling up, but also he's one of the only Pokemon in this game that can learn Tesseract. Pretty much all the legendaries can learn Tesseract, and previous iteration of this run that I worked on involved catching the Victini that was in Mount Press with the Master Ball that I pick up in the Olympus base. However, because we're going to need the Master Ball for later for a different Pokemon, the Unknown is by far the best option. It also has a really good catch rate. So next we need to fly, and we're going to need to deposit, we're going to need our slaves for that, so we take out all our slaves now. So typically, since Noibat will be dying to the Staraptor earlier, we actually can just fly straight away coming out of that, out of the temple there. But we have to take them out, and might as well take the center here because we're gonna have to take the center anyway. So we have to make a few stops before we move on. So we're gonna fly over to Ladoga Town, and we're gonna head out in this direction again. And because now that we have Rock Climb, there's a TM that's now available to us up here. And it's Home Claws. So if you remember, Hawlucha had Home Claws a little earlier. We're not going to be teaching this to Hawlucha. We're going to be needing it for the Aroma region, which is the section of the run that comes up after the Sigil Halls. I'm going to use this opportunity to put a Focus Sash on all my slaves, except for Unknown. We're going to keep Unknown without a Focus Sash. And I'll explain a little bit why we do that later. I'll also use this opportunity to teach Tesseract to Unknown. A little bit of management of Pokemon there. We're next going to fly to Onega Town. We have to do this at some point. We don't need to do it now, but we do need to do it. Excuse me. We need to do this at some point before we do the final fight in the whole run, and it just makes sense to do it now. We go into the museum, use Tesseract, and we pick up the Time Caller. So Time Caller is essentially the item version of Tesseract, so it allows us to go into the past. Now we're all set. Now we fly over to where we started off this whole run, which is Zaravar Town. Here we would normally take the center, but since we already took the center, no big deal. We go to the mart, we sell a couple items. We're going to sell the Sharp Beak, we're never going to need that again. And we're also going to sell the Expert Belt. The reason being, we just want to clean up our inventory, keep it as neat as possible with only items we're actually going to be using in the run. Yeah, we're going to do a massive shop. We're going to buy a ton of potions, super potions, hyper potions, and full restores. I'm not sure if I buy any full restores. No, I elect not to. I have enough to get through here. I'm going to need to buy full restores anyway, but I just don't have the money right now to buy all the ones I need. I also pick up some full heals and some revives. In addition, I'm also getting some escape ropes and some more repels. So most of these items, in fact all of these items, I'm going to need for the Aroma region. So I'm just doing this shop now because it's easier. We're already there, there's already a mart right there. And if we were short full restores, we need to buy full restores anyway. So it's just easier to buy them there and do that shop. We then surf up this direction. Use pretty much most of our THMs at this point to kind of make our way into this this area, which is the Hall of Legends. Or Varlog's Cave. So in order to get through this cave and get to the Sigil Hall, we have to use Tesseract, and we can't get Tesseract until we get the fourth Sigil Hall, so that's what we do here. So we'll start talking about the next fight. So the first fight in the Hall of Legends is a double battle with our friends Cyrus and N. So we saw them a little earlier. They figured into the storyline slightly. We're fighting these guys as a double battle. And so this fight's actually, I've done quite a lot of experimentation, and depending on which Pokemon you have out after you're done all your setup, they send their Pokemon out in different orders, and so we're going to take advantage of that here. So for this fight, I'm going to be setting up 3 Swords Dances, that's it, and we're really hoping that Cyrus and N's Pokemon target our slaves, which almost always happens. The fight just goes a lot faster if that's the case. So there's Swords Dance. We're really hoping to see... unfortunately, we got a hit on Hawlucha, which is not good. So we're going to have to use a turn to heal. The confusion helps a little bit on the Crobat, but not really. So there's the third Swords Dance. So generally, our third slave will be going down right now entirely. Normally I would send out Horsey near the end, but because Cubone's a higher level and has already leveled up quite a bit, it's going to earn less experience points. And because Horsey's a lower level, it'll gain more levels, learn more attacks, and so it's better to send him out now. Setting up that last Swords Dance. In fact, I've already set up a Swords Dance. At this point, I'm just trying to kill Horsey. Luckily, Crobat hit itself in confusion, and now Horsey's dead. So now we're back to just our regular strat. So first 3 slaves are down. We then send out Unknown. And we're ready to start launching Rock Slides. And because Unknown, again, doesn't learn any moves leveling up, he's just going to gain a lot of levels, just a lot of mashing. We don't have to worry about neglecting to teach moves. And these 2 pokes both go down to Rock Slide. Now, Unknown is a Psychic-type Pokemon, and so I can't remember if it's Cyrus or if it's N, but they send out a Weavile next, which is a Dark-type. So Cyrus sends out his Weavile. If Unknown is not out, if, say, another slave is out, he'll send out a legendary Pokemon instead. I think it's Dialga. And we can't kill Dialga with Rock Slide. But luckily, we can kill both Weavile and Vanillux with Rock Slide as well. If you remember, Unknown doesn't have a Focus Sash on, so if he takes 1 hit, he's dead. Out comes Dialga, which is a Steel type, Steel Dragon, I think, and Reshiram is a Fire Dragon. So Reshiram can die to Rock Slide, but doesn't always. In fact, it's more likely to not. Dialga will need a Brick Break to kill. So what I do here is I use Rock Slide with Hawlucha, and then I switch to my final slave with Unknown. The hope here is that Rock Slide will not kill the Reshiram, and both Dialga and Reshiram will kill the last slave, because the last slave, in this case Cubone, has a Focus Sash still equipped. Unfortunately, Reshiram used Outrage on Hawlucha, and we got a flinch from Dialga. So I could stall a little bit and heal Hawlucha using Hawlucha's turn, and then Cubone just does whatever. But in this case, I just elected to kill off Dialga with Brick Break, and of course Cubone's now going to pick up a few moves. The bad news is that, or what should happen here is Cubone should die. Cubone should have died, and Unknown would then come out, and it would die to one of these 2 pokes, because I would probably kill the Dialga. Reshiram would still be alive. Reshiram would kill Unknown, and I'd have no Pokemon left going into the last battle. It's very important I don't have any Pokemon going into the last battle. It's not a huge deal if I go in with a few of my slaves still alive, but it just makes the fight a little bit slower. So that fight obviously didn't go as well as it could have. So the next fight here we're fighting is Red. So Red is obviously protagonist of Gen 1, and also you fight him in Gen 2. Here we're going to be equipping the Black Belt onto Hawlucha. Healing Hawlucha to full, and we're saving, so we're going to have to kill off these last 2 slaves during this fight. So Red actually has the identical team to what he has in Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal. He leads a Pikachu. And also I guess Heart Gold and Soul Silver. So just like Heart Gold and Soul Silver, we're going to kill off Pikachu first, because Pikachu's quite dangerous. He's got a Light Ball, he's got super effective Electric type moves. And then we're going to be setting up on Blastoise. First we have to kill off our slaves. So Blastoise's moveset's pretty bad. It has Ice Beam, which can freeze and is super effective. He has Scald, which is a stab move that can burn. He has Dark Pulse, which is probably his best move. He also has Dragon Tail, which is that move that forces us to switch. Now all our slaves are dead, so no chance of Dragon Tail being forcing us to switch. So on Blastoise, we have to set up 5 times, 3x Special Defense, and 2 Swords Dances. The X special defense are essentially just to minimize the damage we take so that we can set up all our sword stances. And if he crits us at any point, we're dead. So we're really hoping to see Dark Pulse or Dragon Tail here. He's more likely to use the other two moves, though. So there we got the burn. We definitely need to heal. Ice Beam can do quite a bit of damage. X special defense are all done. Set up two Swords Dances. We got Dark Pulse there. That's really good to see the last turn, because after I set up this last Swords Dance, I have to heal the full and take as little damage as possible, because our next fight will be done immediately after this one. We got Ice Beam, which is the worst possible situation, but the health is still pretty solid. Those two Swords Dances up, we're able to one-hit everything else in this fight, so Blastoise goes down to Brick Break. Snorlax will also go down to Brick Break. Espeon goes down to Wing Attack. So his Pokemon come out in a slightly different order, but more or less the same team as the Mount Silver Red. Charizard, we have to use Rock Slide, and Rock Slide can miss. We don't have any accuracy boosting moves, and we missed here, unfortunately. And unfortunately, critical with Flare Blitz. We have to do that fight all over again. Charizard also has Belly Drum, which is the best possible situation, because that does no damage. We can just finish him off with Wing Attack. So that's one of the disadvantages. I used to set up an X accuracy on Blastoise, but that gives him another turn to possibly critical, so it's not practical. And Rock Slide, while it is 90% accurate, it's more likely than not to hit, so yeah. The unfortunate part about losing that first time is now we need to kill off our slaves again, because obviously we don't want to deal with Dragon Tail. So Ice Beam turn 1 is probably the worst possible situation. And we got another crit from Ice Beam, so that's 2 deaths to Red. So this Sigil Hall is really the main reason why this run is just so bad to do. There's so much RNG, so many things can go wrong. Normally Red is actually probably a better fight than the last fight. The last fight can be very trolly. Interestingly, by killing off our slaves here, we're actually forcing Blastoise to burn some Ice Beams. Well, in that case, he used Dark Pulse, but hopefully he uses Ice Beam here, because he only has 10 of those. But since we're only setting up 5 times, it's not likely he runs out ever anyway. freeze there on the last possible turn, so it gives him another chance to crit us. And we get stalled. Stalled is a bit better situation than Ice Beam. Did a little bit less damage. So hopefully this time Charizard doesn't dodge that Rock Slide. The reason why we set up the Brick Break on this fight is mainly because of the Pikachu. The Pikachu can live Brick Break without setting up. It's not super likely, but obviously if he does live, then we just die. It might also give us a bit of a boost to be able to deal with the Blastoise, but I'm fairly sure that the Swords Dances are enough. There's Charizard again. And this time we got him with Rock Slide. It might be possible that we can Wing Attack Charizard. Not 100% sure if that will be a guarantee. But it's possible. So finally that's red out of the way. And we're on to our last fight. And it's against none other than our good friend Zeus. So we beat red, and so Zeus claims in order to get ultimate power, he needs to beat red in a battle and then sacrifice him to his Diva Evis. We beat red, so he just kills him. So red actually just dies. It's kind of sad. So Zeus is a really annoying fight once again. So he again leads a Ninjask. Ninjask has the ability Speed Boost. But that's really irrelevant to this fight. We really want to just be setting up X Special Defense right away. So he's likely to use Baton Pass at some point here. We're hoping to see it as late as possible. Because the Pokemon he switches to can do more damage than Ninjask can. So we need to set up 3 or 4 X Special Defense, depending on how well everything's going. There's the Baton Pass, and he sends out Electros, which has Ice Beam and Discharge as its 2 more dangerous moves. He also has Dragon Tail and Superpower, so we're really hoping to see those 2 moves, but again, he's more likely to use moves that are super effective. So there's Ice Beam. Ice Beam is probably the better situation to see, since that does less damage. We also have to set up an X Speed, because there's a Mega Gengar in this battle, which is pretty fast. And we also need to set up 1 X attack. We need to get our attack to +5, and it's easier to set up an X attack than just to use 3 Swords Dances. So we just have 2 Swords Dances left. There's Ice Beam. Left Dragon Tail, which is really good. So now we're done setting up. We heal the full because the next Pokemon has Extreme Speed. So we want to make sure we're as good health as possible, and then we can go ahead and finish off the rest of these Pokemon relatively quickly. So that Zeus fight actually went really well. First try, and didn't die, so that's really good. So it's actually, it's not the Metagross that has Extreme Speed, it's the one after that. Never mind, it's not the one after that. Okay, I'll just stop talking then. So the Mega Gengar is obviously really fast, so having that X speed is really essential here. No extreme speed from Diva Evis, so that's really good. Down he goes. Ninja has control a little bit here with Protect. But we didn't there, so down he goes. Sadly not a sub 530. Zeus got trolled a little too much. And down goes Zeus. And now Zeus gets killed by Megaspurs. So that brings us to the end of the Vesryn region of the run. A little bit of dialogue here. Team Olympus kind of go to jail, and we get congratulated by Wilson and our mother, as well as our rival. And so yeah, that brings us to the end of the Vesryn region and also the end of this video. Stay tuned. The remaining 4 parts, we're going to be dealing with